What's up guys, I'm Paul and welcome to my channel. So this video is something that a few of you guys have requested, specifically on a recent video I did on my channel where I asked if anybody would be interested in hearing about my e-commerce journey. Now this was something I thought about doing a while ago, but I honestly thought nobody would be interested in. But when a few of you guys said you would like to hear about what I went through and what my journey was like, I thought I'd actually sit down in front of the camera and get some of my thoughts and memories on film. So here we are. Now when it comes to my e-commerce journey, I'm actually going to break this down into two separate videos because there's very much an up section of my journey and a down section. And as there's quite a lot of things in both different sections, I thought it'd be best to make two separate videos. So if you want to get notified of when I post that second video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it to get notified of when I do upload that video. But with the introduction out of the way, let's jump in and let's start talking about my journey. Now for my e-commerce journey, we need to go all the way back to 2012, specifically the summer of 2012. And the summer of 2012 was a pretty mad year here in the UK. We had the London Olympics. It was absolutely an incredible year, honestly it was. But for me personally, the summer of 2012 was planning. I was planning my e-commerce business. Now for a lot of people, e-commerce business is the one they want to go for. But for me, it was very much a means to an end. Because in the 12 plus months prior, I'd been working in a pawnbrokers and I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic job. No 2 days were ever the same. And also I learned loads about business because I was buying, I was selling, I was dealing with customers. It was amazing. I learned so much in that period. And the reason why I started my e-commerce business was I saw it as a way to build my own pawnbroking business because I needed the capital to start lending people money against their goods. And at the time, I just didn't have that. So for me, it was a means to grow my current net worth into a position where I could invest it in another business. I never had the ambitions to be an e-commerce entrepreneur. I definitely never thought I'd end up being a YouTuber. But over the summer of 2012, I was planning my e-commerce business. Now, as I'd been working in pawnbroking, I'd been working with jewelry, and it is a definite passion of mine. And it was something I wanted to do for my e-commerce business. And for me, it's something you need to be passionate about because you need to want to get up every single day and deal with that business, deal with the product, go through all the kind of negative stuff that goes along with running a business because you love what you do. And for me, jewelry is very much still a passion. I still love it to this day. So I knew I was going to sell jewelry. What was I going to sell specifically? And this is something I do talk about in some of my other videos, is it's better to niche down when you're just getting started. Because if you go with a very broad product range, you're going to struggle. For me personally, I knew exactly what I was going to sell. I was going to sell gold, ladies, jewelry. The reason was I knew there was a market for it. I knew how to get it. And also I understood it as well. I understood the world of precious metals. I'd been dealing with it for just over a year. So that was what I was going to sell. Now, where was I going to sell it? Well, I opted for eBay. And the reason I went for eBay, which might be a bit of a strange choice to most people, was one, it's pretty easy to get started with. You don't have to worry about the technical aspects of running a site. You just list your products and you're good to go. And another reason why I went for eBay was I had experience with the platform. In the months leading up to launching basically my proper business, I'd actually been flipping products to generate myself some capital, so I had money to invest in my business from the get-go. So that was the reason why I chose eBay. Also, back then, it was actually a pretty decent platform to sell on. There was much more control for sellers than there is now. It's definitely nowhere near as good to sell on now as it was all the way back then. It actually wasn't too bad back then. But over the summer, I was planning my business. I started making connections. I started speaking to people because the jewelry trade isn't something you can just walk in and start talking to suppliers. Understandably, it's a very closed shop because you're dealing with very, very expensive things. But what I managed to do was I managed to cultivate a few relationships. And that is one of the things that is really, really important, is developing relationships. If you have good relationships with your suppliers, it makes life so much easier. And as the old saying goes, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that very often can be the case because good relationships can make life so much easier. They can also be quite fruitful in the future as well due to different ventures and opportunities that may arise. But that was what I was going to do. I had my products and now it was time to just get around to it. So on the 12th of September 2012, I listed my first business listings on eBay. The week prior, I'd been and bought my first stock. I'd photographed it, got it so I was happy with it, and I listed them on eBay. Awesome. now the journey had begun. And a few days later, I got my first sale and I was ecstatic. As anybody who has ever sold anything online will know, when you get that first sale, it is such a rush. It's incredible. But what happened then was I started getting more sales, and I was getting a couple of sales a week, then I was getting a few sales a week, then I was getting a sale a day, then a couple of sales a day. And it just kind of started rolling forward like that. And I was absolutely loving it, because what I was doing, I was reinvesting all the money straight back in the business. I was expanding the product line, I was investing in lines that were doing well, because that's another thing when you're setting up an e-commerce business, you don't really know what's going to sell. You've got an idea what's going to sell, but you can never be sure. So that first kind of initial investment in stock, you're going to find what works and what doesn't work. And I started to identify certain things that were working, certain things that were selling well, reinvesting in those lines, making those my staple lines because they were selling regularly, while trying different products along the way. And things were growing. And for the first 2 years, I was exclusively selling on eBay. The reason was, it was growing. Why would I move away from that? I was that busy building it up, and it was growing and it was profitable. I was doing it. I was absolutely loving it. Now, a couple of years later, as we're going into the Christmas period 2014, I knew I needed to think about starting my own e-commerce website, because I knew I couldn't be 100% reliant on eBay. I needed another income source. So I kind of let the Christmas period play out as it was. I didn't have the time to start looking into a website. But as we rolled around into January 2015, I took the plunge and started my own e-commerce website. Now, at this point, I had never built a website before. I had no idea what I was doing. And I would imagine, like many of you guys are at the moment, I found it an incredibly scary experience. I had no idea what I was doing. And also back then, there was nowhere near the amount of resources that are available today. YouTube, while there was some videos available, there was nowhere near the quantity that there is today. Blog posts still weren't as good as they are today. I will say that e-commerce gold has upped the game when it comes to blog posts, but there just wasn't the information about then that there is now. I know it's only kind of 6 years ago, but the amount of information available was massively different. But I launched my first e-commerce website in the end of January or the start of February 2015. And which platform did I use? I went with Ecommerce to start with. The reason was I felt it was a better option than Shopify back then, but really, I didn't really know what I was looking at. It was just the one that I felt was slightly easier to use, and I preferred the interface. And that's one of the things I do always say in my videos. When you're choosing the e-commerce platform, go with one that you feel comfortable with. It might not be the best one on paper, but if you enjoy using it, you feel comfortable using it, then that could be the best one to go for. But I launched it, and I made the first big mistake of my business, and the mistake a lot of new e-commerce websites make. I wasn't patient. I expected to have the same kind of success that I'd had with eBay. I expected to start getting traffic, start getting sales pretty quickly. And as a couple of months passed, nothing really happened. And honestly, back then, I knew nothing about kind of digital marketing in the way that I should. I didn't know anything about SEO. I didn't really know about social media marketing. I was still very naive when it comes to all of that. And paid advertising was something I had no idea about. So after a couple of months of running a big commerce website, I pulled the plug on it. My first big mistake. I didn't give myself the time to give that site the chance to succeed. But I didn't just walk away from my own website. I actually went and built an OpenCart website, which was the second website I'd built in the matter of months. And honestly, OpenCart hasn't really changed between then and now, which is disappointing because it had the potential to be an awesome platform. But I'm digressing. But I built that website and I actually ran that for a few months. But once again, I still didn't really know what I was doing when it comes to marketing my own website. Marketing was never really one of my strong points. Even when I was studying business before I got into the world of pawnbroking, marketing was never one of my strong points. And I still don't class it as a strong point of mine now. But when it comes to it, I really wasn't doing a good job with my website. I was kind of like just putting stuff out there and hoping that it was going to get traffic and hope that people were just going to magically find my website. Needless to say, that didn't happen. And I found that I was actually running into lots of problems with OpenCart. There was things I wanted to do with the site that I couldn't do. I just found it incredibly frustrating to use. And this is where not having the knowledge of websites can be a real kind of burden, because you're having to reach out to people and get them to do things for you, or you're having to ask for help all the time. Let's say there just wasn't the amount of information available back then as there is today. So I actually ended up moving away from OpenCart a few months later. I actually ran it, I think, for about 6 months, but I just got to the point where I was so frustrated with the website, I decided to move to WordPress because I just wanted a basic website. I actually moved away from e-commerce for a few months and went back to focusing on eBay. The reason was, over this period where I'd been playing around with websites, eBay had continued to grow. It was on the same trajectory, and I was growing anywhere from 50 to 100% plus year-on-year growth, which is incredible in my opinion. That's something you want to see. And when something's working, you tend to focus on that, because when you're making money, you tend to focus on what's working rather than focusing on something that might make you money, but you're not sure of, you're not even sure what you're doing with it. So 2015 was a bit of a mixed bag for me when it comes to e-commerce. eBay was doing absolutely amazing. My own websites had been just a failure in my opinion. I hadn't even got an organic visitor to any one of my sites. I hadn't got traffic to them at all. It was a complete and utter waste of time and a failure. And as we got into the Christmas period of 2015, I had my best Christmas ever. Every Christmas had got better and better and better, but this one was mind-blowing to me. In November, I did over £5,000 worth of sales, which I was absolutely astounded at. I thought that was amazing. Then in December, I nearly hit 10,000. I was just a couple of £100 off, and I was just egging people on to buy things so I could get that extra bit of money to break that £10,000 barrier. But I just fell short of my goal, so I was a bit disappointed on that, but still 2 awesome months in a row. And I went into 2016 full of optimism. I'd had a fantastic Christmas period. I had money in the bank, I had plans for the following year. I was super pumped. And in that December, I'd been doing hundreds of pounds a day in sales. It was amazing. And it was the first time I actually took a break over Christmas for the past couple of years. I'd even worked on Christmas Day in the years gone by, but I actually did take Christmas Day off for myself and just sat there and relaxed and kind of basked in the glory of what I had built. It may sound a bit egotistical, but when you have months like that, you do want to reward yourself a little bit. And as we went into 2016, things were very much the same. Things were growing every single month and I was seeing improvement. I also put my focus back on my own website, because for a couple of months it hadn't really done much. It'd been sat there as basically a nothing site. But as we went into 2016, I started working on it again, and it was on WordPress, so I decided to add Ecommerce. And this was the point where I really started to get into the kind of the technical aspects of building a website, because I really enjoyed using WordPress and I actually enjoyed the whole experience, rather than finding it scary like I had with BigCommerce and OpenCart and finding it a very frustrating experience. I actually really enjoyed WordPress, and that's still why I use WordPress today. I just find it very easy to use and I kind of click with it. And this, as I said, that's one of the things I do say: if you click with a piece of software, use it. It might not be the best one according to all the experts out there, but if it works for you, then that is the best option to go for. So I started adding WooCommerce to it and started basically building the site out, and that's where I started learning the technical aspects of building the website and found out that I actually really enjoy the technical aspects of e-commerce and websites. I find them quite fascinating, and that's kind of how I got to where I am today. And as we moved through 2016, I was definitely on course with my plan. eBay sales was still solid. I was working on the website. I was optimistic about that, and I was really optimistic about the Christmas period in 2016. I was full of energy, full of ideas, full of excitement, and then things went wrong. And that's going to be this next video. Sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger, but it basically hinges around the 23rd of June 2016 here in the UK, that drastically changed the course of my business and changed the course of my life, actually, completely and utterly. But that's going to be for the next video. So what do you think of my journey so far? I know there's things that I've done wrong, and there is going to be a specific video that I'm going to do on the biggest mistakes I made while running my e-commerce business. A couple of things I haven't actually mentioned in this video because I want to keep it for that other video. But so far in this journey, we started in 2012, we started on eBay, we grew things, we made some mistakes with websites, we made some good product choices along the way. Some things worked, some things didn't. I forgot to mention in 2015, I expanded from gold jewelry into gemstone jewelry. That was a huge eye-opener for me and basically made my business considerably more profitable, and was part of the reason why I had such a good Christmas in 2015 was down to gemstones. And that's also why I ended up going and becoming a gemologist, which is what those certificate things up are on the wall there. I am actually a qualified gemologist, which is a coloured gemstone specialist. I'm also a diamond specialist as well. But yes, I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to diamonds, gemstones and jewellery in general. So if you found this video enjoyable and you've enjoyed seeing my journey so far, don't forget to drop a like on the video. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do by buying me a coffee using the link in the description below. But let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think of my journey so far? I'll be interested to hear anybody's opinions. And yes, I know I made a lot of mistakes on the way, but as I say, that's going to be a separate video. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.